Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to the Pain Clinic for January 24th. Thank you so much. I am your humble host, the Cashman. I am going to be joined by our good friend Murph. Will be joining us for this show. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. Let me get through all my plugs, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. It is January 24th. Holidays today: Beer Can Appreciation Day, Compliment Day, and Global Belly Laugh Day. Yeah, nothing like a global belly laugh. I think the world's doing it at us right now. But nevertheless, you're interested in roller derby, you want to be a skater, officiate, Rock City Roller Derby needs you. Contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment at gmail.com and join Rock City Roller Derby. You're into the men's team Flower City Fear, FLOUR, flowercityfear.com. Always looking for help. Season's getting started soon, so we could always use some help. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. I am, like I mentioned a minute ago, I'm your humble host, the Cashman. I am with Murph. Murph, how you doing today, buddy?
Not bad. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm thinking of making a team of people from Dansville and call it the Fear of the Flower City, and we just will never show up for the games.
Well,
Oh, I hear it's so horrible on Monroe Avenue.
oh my goodness.
Uh,
Well, hey, it's Snowmageddon, so it's
yeah, Snowmageddon.
yeah, it's this weekend up here in Rochester has just been, it started off bad and it's just going to get worse before the end of the weekend. So
Oh, I got a slice of life for you. I got a learning thing, whatever they call work meetings anymore, and
yeah.
this lady's like, "Are you going to be able to attend Monday?" I'm like, "Ma'am, isn't it going to be like 48.5 inches of snow?" And she's like, "Well, we're still going to be here." And I'm like, can we do it?" Like, and I'm like, the whole time I'm trying to, and it's one of those things I can't really say no to,
Yeah.
but I'm like trying to edge her to the next week. And then she sent like a follow up text, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be like Nanook, like just walking in knee deep in snow for something, and then it'll be canceled. You know what I mean? Oh, we canceled it. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it'd probably be very last minute. I'm kind of assuming I work for a school district that, that if we get anywhere close to the 12 to 20 inches Sunday night we're supposed to get, that I won't be working on Monday, but we'll see. I'm not going to count on it. I've driven in worse than we had like a week ago. We had like a snow day on a Thursday, and it was like, I looked out in the morning. It's like, I've driven in worse than this to go to work. So
oh yeah, well, it's like there have been days I was out and there's still the kids at McDonald's that are on the bus route or walked and stuff like that, and I don't know, but I got a good friend down in Tennessee, and he's like, "Oh no, we're expecting it." So for them, it'll be like 3 inches. No, that's more like Kentucky. I got an uncle in Cincinnati, and he says if it so much as rains, they like treat it like we do here, like they buy the bread and milk and
yeah.
everything, and that's hard to do if you're a one-armed drummer from Def Leppard and you're in the Snowmageddon. But
I, it's interesting. I saw some story in Atlanta. Apparently, they're prepared for something down there, and it's like what they do is they mix sand in and they just spread it on the roads. They don't have they don't use salt or anything because they don't really need it. 99% of the time.
well,
So
there's a template, like you just park on the side of the road and Rick Grimes rides a horse down the highway. You know what I
that's
mean?
what it's gonna look like if they get anything. So
No, for real. Do you remember meeting my friend Kiki years ago? She
yeah,
came up and hung. She was down in Atlanta, and she's from here. And she's like, "Oh yeah, no, it started to heavy rain, and they did pull off to the side of the road." And it's like she just kept driving, and it's like, you guys are fools. But
yeah,
I guess it's whatever you're used to, But I just remember being a kid, like getting out of work at midnight, and there'd be people in Mitsubishi Eclipses just like still flying down the road in that much snow, because you just get a different sense of it when you're here. It's not good or bad; it just is.
it is. It is. Yeah, it's an inevitability, much like Thanos. It's like it will happen. So, yeah, cool. So, some of the things we're going to talk about today, I've got on the list. I've got. I don't know if you've watched it or not, but I want to talk a little bit about WWE Unreal Season 2 that came out this past week.
Yeah.
Trey Miguel, did flopped all over the place this past week. Talk a little bit. I don't know if you had an opportunity to watch TNA yet on AMC, but I definitely want to bring that up and maybe talk a little bit about Tommaso Ciampa being gone from WWE. So
Yeah, all that's fair game and topical and good to go. Yeah, there's just there's like 2 lanes on this Rascals thing too, and when we get to it, I got a lot of thoughts on that.
Okay, cool. Very cool. So, right off the bat, I mean, I know we have the Royal Rumble a week from today. In fact, it's early too. It's like what, like a 2 or 3 in the afternoon thing?
2 o'clock, yeah, because where I'm gonna be watching, the guy's got a young kid, and I'm like, do we have to make alternate plans? Are you gonna be like picking apples or something? He's like, no, we got it all figured out, and this is that new normal because UFC, you remember, it was always 10 o'clock, whether it was 10 o'clock or not 10 o'clock, and then suddenly it's like, 11 o'clock, 2
Yeah.
o'clock. So
Remember, we watched that one that was like Sunday morning at like 11 in Australia. That was at 10 o'clock here on the East Coast or whatever.
yeah,
And it was like we were just like trying to wrap our heads around, you know, being in Australia at 11 in the morning, getting out of church and going to
oh yeah.
the UFC. Two guys pummel each other.
Well, that's, and I'm not trying to dunk on the record number for All In, but that's the thing. Like, you got more play with the people in the host city because they're so happy to have you that you could adjust the time more, and you could potentially lose. I think there was another one that was in Ireland, which is what, typical 8 hours ahead, like Britain, or 5. It's either 5 or it's 5. So we were watching that at like 4 or 5, so they could still be at a reasonable time in Belfast or wherever it was.
Yeah. I remember they had one in Germany that's like 7 hours ahead. So that definitely was, and then of course Abu Dhabi, where obviously the main Royal Rumble will be. Excuse me, next week. I can't imagine, I might as well get into it just while we talk about the Rumble because it's a week from today. I can't imagine you can sneak too many surprises in if you have to fly into the middle of the, on the other side of the planet in the desert. It's like, it's not like people, here in the United. That's why I feel bad for like WWE fans because I like the Royal Rumble better than many of the other pay-per-views. It used to be my favorite. It still is. I mean, it still is just for the excitement of you never know what's going to happen to you, even though people do know. But I mean, we never know like the order in which people are coming out, and and then when the surprises are and stuff. And I think that we're going to lose out on the surprises at least because it's first of all, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the other side of the planet. But man, it's probably hard to sneak anybody into the emigrants over there.
Well, and plus, don't you have to have some big state dinner where Lesnar and the Undertaker are eating steaks from across from each other? And
exactly,
like,
yeah. It's a big deal, It's a huge deal there.
I foresee 2 ways. If it's a lady, you come in the full traditional garb and you just like get off the plane like that. And if it's a guy, you just do like the Little Rascals. 2 of you wear a costume of a camel, and then one's the front, one's the back, and you come in like that. But no, and I think it's everybody's favorite because I just saw a metric earlier this week, and I don't know exactly what it was, but it was like how many people watch each event, and there were 300,000 more for Rumble than even Mania. And I think you can really pull the casuals in. And I'm sure you heard over the years, we had our friend Winnie, who didn't watch wrestling at all unless we were there, but she threw a party every year. Me and Josie and a bunch of people would go, and we'd pick the numbers and bat. And I just think the Royal Rumble plays so well to lapsed fans or casuals.
Yeah.
Because of the bedlam. It's like, oh my God, 8 guys are teaming up on Mabel, or whatever the case, or you hear the Dusty Rhodes music and you pop because it's like somebody with poppable music.
I mean, I guess there's so many injured WWE stars right now that any of those injured stars come back, then that would be a surprise, and you can get away with it without having to sneak someone into the country. But
well, just as long as we don't have to do cosplay Yokozuna, like we want your Yokozuna and your Ultimate Warrior and your other deceased legends.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
remember they wanted people who were dead.
Yeah. It's like, can if we pass on the Hulkster, can we get you a giant Gonzalez like that's like Where the Wild Things Are?
You just stuff his costume,
Yeah. Can we get you Slim Goodbody as Small Gonzalez?
So that's next week, and it's like I guess we'll talk about it more next week, obviously, because we'll be like the pre-show to it, being that we are 10 o'clock in the morning and it's going to start at 3, and who
Yeah.
knows, they probably do a 2 hour pre-show, so that probably, if we go long enough, we probably cross over, which we have crossed over. I think though the one there was the one pay-per-view that was in Scotland that was really early, and we ended up like getting done with the show and then I immediately turned it on and it was on. So it was like
Yeah, what was that? Something in the castle? Wasn't
yeah,
that a
yeah.
big
Clash in
Brew
the
showcase?
Castle. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's interesting that, I mean, that I feel like there's very low significance to the Royal Rumble being next week. I mean, on the WWE programming, they haven't, I don't feel, I mean, only a few people have declared for it, and it's not in every promo, I think it's because people can't travel there. I mean, what are they going to do when they got Mania there next week year, So it's
Yeah. Wow, and it's like the whole Riyadh Comedy Festival, laugh or we'll kill you. No, but it probably like that, it's every time I've seen one of those, and the Titus O'Neil slipping under the ring and the joint crown
How
champion
about
or
how about
whatever.
how about Shane McMahon winning the greatest wrestler in the world award or whatever, or the belts?
Yeah, that's almost like something you get from FIFA instead of a note. Oh, never mind.
It's what
But
what I think Millie Vanilli handed their their Grammys over to Trump.
yeah,
So
yeah, it was.
he has a
He's like, guys, it's true. So hey, blame it on Biden. Yeah, yeah. Oh, we got to get off of that. But no, it's I think there is a state of just resting on the laurels of the event because, honestly, like what we all want. We want four guys from TNA, and we want people from NXT, and we want. But in some state you'll get just like C-level guys that you don't think will win.
yeah.
And I think the Jericho thing, somebody said, I ain't taking credit for it, but it made total sense. Like if he's showing up, we would love to have your Chris Jericho for $6 million, and he gets the big payday on his debut. Everybody's happy, and there you go.
Well, maybe that's why they've held him off so far, because there were so many rumors on the 1 year anniversary for Netflix that he was supposed to show. So, and that never happened.
I don't hate it, but I don't watch it. Were you satisfied with the Stranger Things crossover, or was
No,
it?
it was terrible. It was, there were, if they couldn't at least bring somebody from the show, one person to like, do a guest appearance instead of it was just decorations and like special effects on the cameras and stuff.
It felt like Spirit Halloween or something. It was like,
Yeah,
oh,
seriously.
hey, yeah, Stranger. You couldn't get that. Huh?
They had those far shots too from outside,
Yeah.
and it was like just they had the lens on or whatever that made it look like Stranger Things and playing the music as well. I mean, I love Stranger Things. It was great, a great
Wow,
show.
I've seen Stranger Things down by the pier, but like you couldn't get that little curly-headed, red-headed guy to come in and hang out. He seems custom built for wrestling.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Dustin. I think I agree. Those, I mean, most of those kids, we're in the half of the show. They were friends and they played Dungeons and Dragons together. So wrestling just walks hand in hand right there.
Oh yeah. You could have had like Elf pop up. Could have done some '80s stuff like that one, the Radio Shack commercial for the Super Bowl. It's like the '80s are back.
I will say it didn't. Yeah, it was disappointing, and I mean, there was nothing significant with it. Also, being it was they're into now. It was the anniversary of their debut too, so it was.
Yeah.
It was just. I think it was lost, and I think I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like maybe we expect too much. I mean, but Netflix also owns Stranger Things too, so I thought if they could have made it happen if they wanted to. They could have said, okay, you want to work in this town again? You got to go to Raw for a little bit, And I mean, I would love it if I was one of those kids, man. It would have been like, this is great.
Oh yeah, well, and they'd have treated you like kings and queens, and like always, every time Adam Sandler and Bill, all those people are front and center. They know how to deal with unlike the TNA show, but they.
I want to talk about that too. We're gonna get to that. Yeah, I'm glad you watched it. So I do want to let's talk. Have you watched the Unreal show?
Yeah, and I have a friend who's a big LA Knight guy, and of course, it's just baked in. It's a work because back with the whole run up to Cena's final match, and LA had that little bit of heat on him and stuff, and it went to Gunther, and even, and you know, just to put a button on that, that would have been not the best ending. Like two faces, one of them's a sarcastic guy, whatever. But anyways, it's interesting to see that kind of stuff, and it's interesting remembering when we met Abyss to see how he is just the most nervous human being on earth. And it goes back to the Bruce Pritchard thing. I think it was last season. And then this one where he's taken up for LA Knight. He looks like Tarzan and acts like Jane. He makes me nervous looking at him, you know?
Yeah. Well, he's every shot they show him, he's like, that's not what I had planned to do.
Yeah.
I felt it was garbage, and everyone's like, "It's okay, man. It's okay." He goes, "Oh no, I'm responsible for everything that happens in the match." Blah, blah, blah. You know, and that whole, I mean, obviously, and listen, I remember meeting him at a UPW show maybe 4 years ago, and this is like before he got hired by WWE, and he just looked a wreck, man. He did when he came to it was it was a show out in Buffalo Road at the place they were used to be out in Buffalo Road, maybe 4 or 5, maybe it was more than that. I remember because Teddy Long was there too, so it was a show, and but I talked to him a little bit in the back, and he was just a mess. And I could see why, I could see that nervousness in him, even talking after the matches, because he had done two characters that night. Obviously, done Abyss.
He worked Brody. Was that there?
No, it wasn't. That Brody was already he was already up with.
Oh, okay.
But this is when TNA. There was a time I loved TNA, but there was a period in TNA when they were on, I think, the Destination channel, or they were going to something else. And it's like I couldn't watch them for a while. It was a MTV, or it was like a TV. It was like a music television channel.
No, do you know it was Pop?
That's what it was, Pop. Yeah.
Which was the TV guide channel. So you'd be watching that program, and underneath it'd be like Designing Women, 5 o'clock, Home Shopping Network, 5 o'clock. And it was like you're looking at the TV guide that you didn't need because you now have a TV guide on your box. But in the old days, I feel like Lewis Blake, in the old days, you needed the TV guide channel. And then now they're showing wrestling. And then it was like they had a New Kids on the Block reality series and stuff like that on there too.
Yeah. So when they kept moving away from where I could watch them, so I kind of, and that's also when, and it doesn't surprise me in the least that Dixie Carter got booed on TNA's initial show, because she's the one who let AJ Styles go. And AJ Styles, I mean, would have been there if they had paid him forever. He wanted to be, and they were much like, I was going to say, much like the R-Truth story, that we got more of what really happened with R-Truth, supposedly being released, when in reality they had two numbers. They had a number, and R-Truth had a number for signing a new contract. And they said, well, we can't reach R-Truth. We can't reach that high number. So we're just going to let the contract run out, and then R-Truth goes, I've been released. And it's like Triple H is like, wait a second, he's still under contract.
Yeah.
He's not been released. So, I have a little bit of sympathy for Triple H in that aspect, because he gets made to look like the bad guy. And in reality, R-Truth put that out there, and it exploded on the internet and everything. And when you watch this Unreal show, you get to see the whole story of that. This newest season. So, and by the way, this newest season also pretty much ran concurrent with the first season. So I'm a little disappointed, because I thought we were going to have newer footage, more up to date times, but this basically was the same things that were going on with other people during the same, the last season, with the John Cena stuff and everything.
And I guess maybe it's an embarrassment of riches if you had that many good stories where you could sort of spread it out, but if you know what you're looking for, you can easily see that it's like, wait a minute, this is all the same 2 week span in November or whatever. But it's good because it's going back to, you think about that stuff really started with The Ultimate Fighter and Hard Knocks, the NFL show, and they were just both so good. And now everybody from Tierra Toddler, Mormon Wives to they all do the behind the scenes stuff. And it's when it's like Little Johnny. When it's good, it's very good, and when it's bad, it's putrid. And it's interesting. And Triple H, and I watched and I thought this, but then that British kid James that does all the recaps, he pointed out Triple H was pretty fair with LA Knight. Vince would have been like, "You're a little goofball and you're too old and I hate
Oh,
your
yeah. So,
hair."
so you're talking about, I think it's in episode 4 when LA Knight screwed up the end of the Money in the Bank match, which they went through and they explained exactly what they were going to do before it happened. And then it didn't happen, it didn't happen. And it was like, and so they blamed LA Knight because I think he was supposed to, what he was is they were supposed to climb the ladder at the same time. And he was supposed to knock Seth Rollins off. And then Rollins, and then he was going to climb the rest in slow motion like they always do, and then give Seth Rollins enough time to get back up there and fight off. And it didn't work that way. Seth Rollins knocked him down. He sold the bump and never came back up. And so Rollins had nobody to stop him while he was doing it. So
well, and Rollins, I could see having a lot of Randy Orton in him, just like standing over Triple H's shoulder, like, "Yeah, you ruined it, yeah." And
they were mad at him because of the Royal Rumble. They didn't talk about this at all, but they did in the first season where he wanted to get his quote unquote stuff in, and so it kind of ruined a couple spots in the Royal Rumble. Yeah. And Drew McIntyre went screaming back to the back after he got eliminated, saying if we had to get his stuff in or whatever, and he was. So it's like so LA. I like LA Knight, and I feel terrible for the guy because he's the most over guy that's never going to do anything there in that company because and it's. But you see like the memes with the zoom ins on his face while Triple H is berating him, freaking at the gorilla position there,
Well, and you got to learn, and we know being radio people, it's like you got to know when to self-edit because some people will try to shoehorn stuff in, but it's like if it goes a different direction and it's because somebody got ketchup instead of mustard, you go with it, and like. You go with it until it's not good. You don't, I still got to get in my joke about Wynton Marsalis. No, you go with it. And you could see Rollins kind of get shook on that deal too. And he's like, well, where is this guy? Which is credit more to 2 weeks ago or a month ago or whatever with that little yummy Thea Hale. Hey girl. When she knocked out Morgan Bonder,
Blake Morgan,
Morgan,
Marilyn Monroe. I mean Blake Morgan,
Morgan Properties. But
they call her Blake Morgan a watered down version of Tony Storm, especially after this past week. She cut a promo that was like very Tony Stormish,
Yeah, and I think she's going to be fighting that for probably the rest of her career.
Yeah, like she was paired with her in AEW there for a while. So
yeah, for sure.
She got that win over her. So,
but that's back to that match where Thea knocked the wind out of her. They counted the 3. It's like, and I think Triple H brought that up in his bit. It's like, just go and do it, and we'll worry about it later. And that was always a Vince thing because and I ain't dunking on AEW, but you'll see like Rick Knox, like so committed to what he's doing that he's not even gonna do it. And it's like better to figure it out, or it's a more artistic way of saying better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Like you can't look like this is 1, 2, 3 ABC. This is what we do when we do what we do, and if we don't do it, we don't do it. No, just go through it.
The amazing thing about this Unreal season 2 is they spent a whole episode where they talked about how Seth Rollins had to fake an injury in the middle of a match, and it's like, and no one was supposed to know about it, and everyone found out about it right before the match. The people that had to know, the referee, and then that also led to the cash in on CM Punk at WrestleMania, which which nobody knew about as well, except for Punk obviously knew because they had commentary of him saying, "Okay, I'm going to hold it up. Okay, now I'm waiting for the music to start," and he was like being interviewed backstage about it. So, and believe me, believe it or not, but Punk was more than happy to do with what they did. He seemed he was a very company guy. So, big loss for AEW, man. I still feel that, even though a lot of people don't like the way he went out. I don't, it's still a big loss because he was a huge star and he was a needle mover, at least for their product. So,
well, maybe when Powerhouse Hobbs come in, he'll go, I want to work with that young up and comer Punk and return the favor from when he wanted to work with Hobbs.
Hobbs' new name, was it again Royce? Something Royce
Calvin and Hobbs. Royce Freeman.
Yeah. So, so the Unreal. So there's a lot of people that hate this Unreal season. They hate the Unreal in general because they feel it gives away too much. I don't, I'm intrigued by it just because what we do, I mean, it's like seeing, I mean, and it just kills me the secrecy of like how only certain people can know what's going to happen. And the worst thing is they don't give them much time. They're practicing that afternoon. They go, let me pull you aside here. Cody, you're our man. This is what's going to go on, and it's like, so you wait to the last second, even though they've known, and then you hear there's at least once or twice Triple H goes through and lists off everybody who knows this secret, and he did that a couple times, about first was the fake injury on Saturday night's main event, and then the second time was obviously Seth Rollins cashing in the Money in the Bank, but I just the funny thing is it's like I said, that's all going concurrent with the first season, which was all John Cena pretty much. But I thought I liked it a lot. I mean, I wish they would have gone a little bit forward in time. I think one thing is, if anything, is LA Knight's going to get a ton of sympathy after people watch it, because
they're not dumb, like in so much as showing that if like nobody cares, but like right now you see him like holding back tears, it'll just be even more white meat. And
something that I'm surprised at is how many people hang around the gorilla position in the WWE pay-per-views and stuff. It's like they have 2 rows of TVs where you have the producers on one row who are actually running the match.
I think you knocked it loose. This is what happens like in the gorilla position on the pain clinic.
Yeah, hold on. She knocked something.
Now I hear you.
Okay.
But
my
like
dog
you
just
said,
wiped out my information, all my stuff here. So, I was saying, it's like how many people, they have 2 rows of tables in the gorilla position. And by the way, Mad Dog, thank you for that information. He's talking about Abyss, being, he's when he met him, he's always asking people how his match was and what he thought about it and stuff. So he said he was very nervous back then too, just coming here to town to wrestle. But
well, do you remember we met him and he had already unmasked and done the Joseph Park thing, and he kept telling DC, "Please don't take my picture with my mask off." And it's
I
like,
remember that. And
what? What are you?
And then didn't he have to double check it, make sure he deleted it too, because he had taken it?
Yeah, and then he had the Jenks man give him one of those searches like ICE do. They put him on.
Yeah, so
you hear that music, dun 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 dun, ICE baby,
run. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so it's like I've never been, the gorilla position was just packed forever. All those shots they showed in there, and it's like, obviously you got Triple H in the back row, and you have the producers in the second row, and it's like, but Becky Lynch is waiting for her husband to win the title. You've got, and then they're all waiting for people to come back behind the stage, back to the stage after their matches and everything. It's an interesting show. I wouldn't mind watching it again, but I don't need to see any of those characters they've shown already. I felt bad for R-Truth because one, no one had any idea that he really truly was still under contract, and they just refused to renew his contract, and that's what he considered, quote unquote, being released. Yeah. And so then and Triple H, you could tell Triple H was mad about it, even though he said, he never was released. You could tell that he was mad. He goes and puts it on social media, and then boom, there's millions of people. And then what's his name? Nick Khan's like asking us about it. And
hey, let me make I'm not trying to be the cigarette smoking man from the X-Files because I've switched to dip, but there was all those memes. Who really got a kick out of R-Truth? Who really loved R-Truth? Vince.
Yeah.
So maybe R-Truth was making $3 million a year to just like kind of do the truth thing. And maybe TKO, whoever, Rahm Emanuel or Ari Emanuel or the Johnny Gorgeous from Enterprise or whatever that show, Entourage. Maybe they did say, why is this R-Truth making $3 million? And let's see if we can wiggle him down. And, and when you're that charismatic and you're that over with the fans, guess what? You do put it on social media and it's over. So Triple H was probably a little salty about it. And he's always I'm your buddy. Like, let me work it out. And I'm sure he felt quasi betrayed or whatever. But I would, and I guess it would bring the star power down and the eyes down. But I would like to see that Unreal with NXT or like what happened when the Thea Hale thing. And they're like, okay, well, this is where we are, for the next month. We're gonna have to treat it as legit or make you the new 1-2-3 kid, or not that she was, a job
Yeah.
girl or anything.
I was thinking that's maybe the first thing made me thought is like, what was the gorilla position like there when that happened in the match? Because
Yeah.
it's like, first of all, Thea Hale looked more surprised than anything else, and then had to pretend she knew she was getting it and be super excited and dance around and stuff like that, so
She's really like funny. She does these things where she goes and gets coffee with her boyfriend. So I wish they wouldn't like, and that was still like, well, we got to get back on track. But no, you should have let her have a little run with it. And like, even if she's stepping in, mega doo-doos every week and like keeps like falling forward into the wins, they should have gave her more time with that.
I agree. And I think Blake Monroe is the one who they have invested so much in, is the one who failed there,
Yeah, but she ain't gonna be hurt. Like, she'll bounce back more. Like, why are you cooling off Thea? Like, yeah, Blake screwed up, and even if it is legit, like she got the wind knocked out of her and was like, ooh, like she'll bounce back easier than you throwing a bucket of cold water on Thea Hale.
It takes me back to the pin count from when Nia Jax didn't kick out when the referee stopped the hand count.
Yeah.
Back in when was that? November, I think. Yeah. And that whole thing is, it's and that's what they try to, I guess, teach the refs is that even if the outcome and someone doesn't kick out, you got to count it. Looks stupid if you stop that at the third count, which which they did, and it did look stupid because it was. I don't know. The WWE is funny. Is I have a feeling, and I have this bad feeling that the name Vince McMahon has showed up a bit lately in some of the rumors going around. And it's like, I mean, I obviously think that the Vince McMahon should have been during his run should have been added to the Hall of Fame, because I think that with what happened to make him leave, there should be no chance he really should be added to the Hall of Fame. But now I think that they're worried about some of the staleness of storylines and stuff, that they're actually bringing his name up as being possibly making an appearance at some point.
Well, somebody like leaked that earlier this week. Somebody quasi big, I forget who it was, but with Vince, they should have done that immediately when he did his, I'm back, and Stephanie did. Like, you got to like bury that, because there's going to be a point where there's no coming back. Like, it's almost, and I'm not trying to be dark, and one of them's still going strong. It was like the year Razor and Jake got clean, and they're like, we better get them in. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And the Razor's gone with the Lord, but Jake's still around. But it's some of that stuff you got to put the kibosh on. And with Vince is Mr. Burns. Like, he's sitting at home, like, saving his Kleenexes and stuff because he doesn't know doesn't know how to live outside of that WWE system.
There's so many people that think he's still involved somehow, I mean, obviously his daughter is the first elected into the Hall of Fame this year coming up, and first elected name. And I mean, and plus Triple H is his son-in-law. So it's a fan, but he also wanted, I read that since he left, he wanted to start his own promotion, or he was trying to do something where he trademarked a name for something that he wanted to do.
He went out to Vegas and he started doing that show where he was doing all the songs off Jackhammer or whatever. That Get Back,
I don't think I need to see the wrestling album.
He had an Axeman. Yeah, he had an Axeman until he went with the Lord Brother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say I am a real. He get to sing all the songs off that album.
Well, plus you got a guy that told Metallica, "No,
Stand back."
Yes, get back, get back, pal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's interesting, but it's like I just the more. I mean, some of the storylines haven't really been jumping off the page recently. I obviously people tire of the babyface being champ. Obviously, that's why now Drew McIntyre is the champ, I'm guessing, and they like the chase. And so, and Cody Rhodes, like, he immediately, a couple, was it 2 weeks ago, he put his name in for the Royal Rumble. I guess Roman Reigns did this. They announced it on SmackDown. At least there's a couple people, but this Royal Rumble is just so low key, man. There's not a lot of hype going into it, except there's a few, I mean, obviously 5 matches have been, I think, announced, or 2 Royal Rumbles and one. I'm curious to see, I mean, thank goodness that the over the years they allow them to dress differently for the women going into the matches. Could you imagine all of them in hefty bags out there?
Oh man,
You
yeah,
know?
in those what was it, Ray-Ban swimsuits, those things you're surfing, the
Yeah,
Ron John or whatever. Yeah, man, that's,
yeah.
and I think there was a lot, and again, to go back to the Riyadh Comedy Festival, which is kind of apples and oranges, but it's also kind of apples and
A lot of people are
applesauce.
getting a lot of grief over that. So yeah, I mean,
Well, and they said, what can't, because you hear things about people being killed on the street for, being homosexual and stuff, but then it's like, they're like, well, just we're fine with whatever, just don't joke about the royal family, or we'll give you the old Khashoggi treatment. But
cut you into little pieces. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, send you home in your suitcase. But like, um like, a lot of, they're not out there. You look at Alexa Bliss, and she looks like a brat style. It's like they're not, and it's like, whoa, you see the very bottom of her butt cheek or whatever. So yeah, I'm glad they lightened up. I could even see, okay, well, AJ Lee, the way she dressed, is probably too much skin for that culture, because
Oh,
I was
Rhea
in the East.
Ripley, the way she has those lines that go around to accent her tush.
Oh yeah, you
And
see that, and that's
half the
that's probably,
wrestlers are like that. What's her name? Lash Legends like that
yeah.
too. She's got that stuff going on. You gotta, sorry, put the hefty on for those ones, the hefty bag.
Well, that's about, yeah, and I mean, it's almost like, I'd like to see him come out in the hefty bags and then strip down to the famous sable bikini with the vinyl handprints.
Yeah,
But
that would be the last show that they sponsor, because there's been a lot of rumors about how that group in Riyadh has wanted to buy WWE from TKO.
yeah,
But that would be the worst. That would just end it. That would end professional wrestling, at least.
because
You
it
know.
would, like, I don't see how that goes well at all. And even back in the day before the UFC was TKO, Saudi Arabia, I think, bought like 7% of the company, and it's always been, that's where the tie comes from and whatnot. But yeah, I think the public perception, because I also heard they wanted to buy Netflix. I also hear they bought EA Sports.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of this, like, oh, we're just like you. Greetings, fellow kids. Here's our skateboard, and it's just, I think it would just, I think they'd be doing a lot more stuff out of the Middle East, and I think the public perception would be bad, because as much, unless you can get a jet from Qatar for no apparent reason that you get to keep when you're out of your job. Like, but dude, here's the thing too. It's like, we could say Triple H is warm and fuzzy, and he's in there drinking the whole milk with a W
Yeah.
and everything else. So I could just see that being all set up above him. And, old Linder and Dancing Don are like, hey, this is a good deal. And he's like, I guess this is a good deal. I could see external pressure on him to sell it to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, yeah. The interesting thing you mentioned that is I saw there's some news this week that I negated to add to the list, and it was about Triple H doing a presentation for the president at the White House this week that he was asked to do, and he like wrote a letter and made a presentation, and I've not even looked at it, nor I don't care. That's why Mick Foley, there's a good reason why Mick Foley is no longer with WWE, things like that. You tie yourself in with a bully, someone who's turning the way people are treated in the United States to being bullied by the authority, which I mean what are ICE agents if they aren't stormtroopers for Darth Vader,
Well, I know there's a lot of people that like to say, what's your badge number and what's your name, and you don't get to ask that. You're getting the old wood shampoo right in the mouth, and
Seriously, yeah, and it's like they're wearing masks, they have guns, but they aren't police. Okay,
yeah.
and they're going around and they're kidnapping people. So it's
Well,
like this is not the society we grew up in. What's going on?
No, and that's exactly it. And the thing with Hunter, it's like, it's more of this crap, like whenever, and not to get too deep in the weeds, because I know some people just want to talk wrestling, but like, you'll see an infrastructure bill and it'll be like, brought to you by Ted Cruz. And it's like, no, you voted against that. Brought to you by Nancy Mason. No, you voted. Now you're taking credit because it got pushed through. With the whole thing with Triple H on the Fitness Council, Saquon Barkley went golfing with Trump and got static, and he goes, I'm out, because he wanted a legit face on it. So now he's got Hunter, who, again, Well, it ain't John Cena, it ain't Roman, it ain't Cody. It's Hunter, the retired wrestler who's in every pay-per-view commercial.
After he's the voice of WWE, it's the first thing you hear. You'll watch it WrestleMania this year. He'll be the first thing you see in the middle of the ring on the first night. You know?
Oh yeah, and that's exactly it. Time to play the game. But like, this is another one of those things where Michelle Obama wanted healthy school lunches and they lost their minds. Like, don't tell me I can't have chocolate chips and chocolate cake and chocolate Cheetos.
And
like
no Coca-Cola.
no Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola cake. And yeah, but now drink your whole milk with a W, which goes to show you like why that wasn't a joke. Like he's had to say with a W. So like, what are you watching? German milk films, you weirdo? But like, I just imagine like a whiz in it. Anyway, I'm not gonna get too far off track, but no, it's corny to like, but like you don't need to be that front and center with all that. And I guess that'll be the precursor of the thing after the White House UFC show is in your White House, the WWE pay-per-view or what. I don't know.
They have one show tonight. They have UFC, was it
Patty and Gage.
Patty Pimblington, yeah. And it's the first one they're doing on Paramount. So which means Paramount, I didn't realize it, but I probably can watch that tonight because I have the Paramount channel.
Oh, well, that again, it's more of pay-per-view is dead. And
yeah.
That's because there was a whole Harlem Shake like there because it's like UFC left ESPN for Paramount Plus, owned by Larry Ellison, and then Triple H goes into ESPN with all the WWE. And I remember I was watching with me and Marcos WrestlePalooza, and we're trying to figure it out. And you hear, oh, you're all set. If you even have cable, it's free. And then now there's a class action lawsuit because they presented it all fuzzy. And
oh yeah,
I remember we couldn't sign on that day. I was over, he's got a nice man cave and stuff. And we're down there and like the Xbox wasn't picking up the because they changed the interface and the name of the ESPN thing.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have to go to Disney Plus to get to it. It's like kind of like the jump.
Yeah.
And the interesting, remember that Paramount wanted the WWE too. They wanted what Netflix got.
Yeah.
And they weren't happy about that, but so they went, their second choice obviously was to put UFC pay-per-views on, and that's what they're getting now. So I say that I should be able to watch it, but now watch when it comes around, it's going to ask me for, another $20 or something to watch it.
Yeah. It's an in-app purchase. It's like, you can watch all the Becker you want, but if you want to watch that UFC, we're going to need $40 US or 80.
Well, there's a lot of guys in the chat room here, and thank you guys in the chat room here now, that as soon as the WWE pay-per-views went to ESPN, the ESPN app, they're like, I'm not paying over $20 for this, this app for just WWE pay-per-views. Remember, it was $9.99 when we had the WWE network.
Well, and you hear this stuff, and they've gotten so much money, like it's like the Monopoly, man. It's like falling out of their top hat, where they're just going to now put the libraries at WWE Vault and collect ad revenue off YouTube because we got plenty of money. We don't really need to monetize that thing. But that was in my day, when I was a boy, Werther's Original, you had that whole WWE network, and that was a perfect system. And you wondered, how are they're going to lose so much on WrestleMania and the Rumble? But no, it was perfect. But you know what? It's perfect until you get paid $90 gazillion to have Stranger Things and Heated Rivalry and whoever else on your program. No, that's an HBO show, I think. But
yeah, my daughter was telling me about that. It's like, interesting, huh?
Yeah, I think that's the Jaromir Jagr story. I remember that was always the knock he got from the more masculine fellas with his poodle hairdo. But
interesting. But yeah, the interesting thing too is that they I lost my point because you made me laugh. No, but I was going to say the Netflix stuff. That doesn't equate to why they have to charge insane amounts of money for live events now.
No, you're absolutely right. And the whole idea was to get the perceived value of just one app. You know what I mean? It's like the monorail, just
Yeah.
one app, $9.99. Hey, you're good. I was talking to Billy, our friend Billy DeTore, and he's like, I got all of them. And it's like, somebody did the math, and it's like, if you wanted to watch everything and you had, and a lot of people do, because you're not just watching wrestling on Netflix, you're watching like Happy Gilmore 2 and whatever. Fine.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and you got all these things, and you got to have Amazon for football, and you got to have and then there's all this, and it's all just splitting the pot, because now whatever the flag football game this next weekend for the Pro Bowl is on Netflix, I guess, and the home run derby, and it's just all these ancillary things to say, we got your baseball, we got the Yankees on Amazon Plus or Prime or whatever it is.
No, I agree, and it's a sad situation, and I think unfortunately it's deterring people too. You know, it's like, and I think that them being kind of in a having creative issues right now, making new stars is not. I mean, that they're trying. You know, we got the Javon Evans who shows up on everything now, and then like this past Monday gets hurt in the middle of a match, and freaking gets carried out. You know, they get the X sign, and that was when Raw was on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday.
Yeah,
because they were in Ireland, I think, or Scotland. I can't remember.
Somewhere in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, they were over that way. So, but yeah, that this all started from our Unreal talk. So it was like,
well, we got it's unreal how much information came from that topic. But yeah, no, Javon Evans is kind of the new I don't know. He is the new R-Truth. He's on every segment, and
or he's
I don't
1,
know.
2, 3 kid, I think, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's about got the same body shape, that's for sure, you know.
But that was whole suspect deal, right? Selling on the outside, possible concussion, and they should just dress up that I Love Speed kid that they had walking around and have him be Javon, like his stunt double. They could just push him into the ring, like, go get him. I have speed, and he gets killed by Braun Baker.
Oh yeah, that was like the first season of Unreal that they spent a little bit on building up that whole spear that happened, when which was like they showed everyone in the back in the gorilla area like just losing their minds over that spear that looked like it ripped them in half pretty much.
You know, I would have liked to see him get speared like that would have been Gary Coleman back when he got hit with the guitar and he got all the toilet paper in his hat.
Yeah.
I bet like watching Gary Coleman take a spear would be like seeing a taxi cab hit a fire hydrant. Like he probably would just buckle hard and not move. And
I am
just,
not stolen.
Sorry, what you talk about, Willis? This ain't no selling time.
So funny. I was on doing my Derby show last night on 106.3 WRFC, and we had a guy on who skates with the Cleveland Guardians, which is not the baseball team, but
the original Cleveland Guardians.
That's right. And so he was telling us about, he's like working with a local wrestling group in town there. And he's like a really good speaker, and he can cut promos and stuff. And he's like, he like made a deal with him. He's like, I'm taking bumps. He goes, I'm not just coming into, and he's like my age. He's like, I'm taking, that would make him old. He's not my age. He's a little bit younger than me. He goes, I'm not like taking bumps. I'm not taking, he goes, I'm taking bumps. He goes, that's the only reason I'm coming is if I can take a few bumps and maybe wrestle a match. And I think he's going to regret saying that to us last night. You know, it's like,
I've heard your age is equally equated to how many bumps you're willing to take, but it's also like you can tell a tree's age by cutting it and counting its rings. You know, yeah. So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny last night. So let's move on a little bit. Talk about TNA, because why not? TNA had their second show on AMC this past week. Any guys in the chat room have any thoughts on that? I definitely have some thoughts on it. I watched it. This is the TNA. This is a live show that came after their Genesis pay-per-view. Their Genesis pay-per-view was last Friday night, and their debut show in AMC was a week ago Thursday. Yeah. They're, of course, we talked a little bit about it last weekend about how their debut show, they were doing things that WWE does, just that they didn't have the crowd, you know? So like when they're going through and they're introducing like the famous people in the crowd, and you see all these empty chairs behind them in the whole empty sections. And then and the worst part about it is you don't even know who these people they're introducing. But then Nick Nemeth or Ryan Nemeth, one of them, the brothers, came out and had to, like, you know, get in a fight with one of the guys, and he nutted himself climbing over the barricade and falling on the ground. around. But everything went wrong, and they had a bunch of people who couldn't come in for the taping because of visa issues that still couldn't come in for the pay-per-view that weekend because of visa issues. So they had to rewrite half the pay-per-view. And it was pretty much a disaster. A week ago Thursday, it was a disaster on the pay-per-view. And then we had this past week live on Thursday night. I was watching it. Actually, I was doing my prep. I was watching the end of it because I watched they had the Feast or Fired match, which has always been a draw for TNA because they have 4 briefcases in the corners, and you don't, obviously you take one down and then they draw it out as long as they possibly can before you open it, though they promise they will open them next week. Yeah. But that was probably the highlight of it. The main event was Jeff Hardy in a match against Ali. And but overall, a better show this past week, but still they're missing the boat apparently. And I didn't see this myself, but if you were watching it on their TNA Plus app, they went and proceeded to give away everything that happens next week on the show because they kept the video going long, and they showed who won. I'll go back and read it, but they went and showed who won what. At least 2 of the people who won briefcases, they told who won, and this is supposed to happen next week. It's kind of a build up. They're going to let everyone know next week, and it's like, and then if you were watching them on the Plus app, you found out a lot of things. Like, for instance, Eddie Edwards, or no, who is it? Let me look at the news real quick because it was on my news. I might as well give it away while I can because we are talking about TNA. So,
well, let me make a quick point while you're looking at that. I remember back before the days of their relationship with WWE, Brian Alvarez was talking about it took forever for them to get the replay up. So it sounds like they got like technical malfeasance as far as turning stuff around or like having the sense of when to kill the feed. Cause it's just like, those are rookie mistakes. I remember the dude that used to tape Pure 6 Wrestling, was a college guy who had a history in that, and they didn't have those problems. It's either like, you don't have enough manpower doing your technical, or you're just like, you don't have people with the want,
Yeah, I think one thing it was is they were obviously taping next week's show after this week's show ended. And so they just didn't, didn't cut the feed in time, so it's like, but I'll read what it says here. It says TNA Wrestling had a production issue on Thursday night that spoiled multiple plans they have coming up. Fans watching Thursday's live episode on TNA Impact on TNA Plus ended up getting more than they bargained for once the show went off the air. After the broadcast concluded, the audio feed repeatedly continued on the platform with several spoilers, upcoming storylines unintentionally revealed. It was announced that the No Surrender main event will be Mike Santana, Leon Slater, Nick Nemeth, and Eddie Edwards. There also was a major reveal tied to the recent Feast or Fired, as it was noted that it was also revealed that Eddie Edwards was the winner of the world title contract briefcase in the Feast or Fired match. One storyline wrinkle coming out of the audio leak involved Leon Slater and the X Division Championship. The report states a storyline plot point will be that Daria Ray encourages Leon Slater to exchange his X Division title for the world title shot. Rainwalt called this option C. Remember option C?
Yeah.
So the storyline will be that everyone in the match is gunning for Santana. So that's why Leon Slater's in that heavyweight. So he gives up the X Division title to get in that.
Well, I heard his case had a crucifix in it, and then he became Christian Slater.
That certainly wouldn't be a bad.
He's gleaming the cube next.
Well, he's a guy he's also the guy who couldn't get back into the United States because of visa issues on their debut show. So
yeah, they're like, "What did you say your name was?" And he spoke in that accent. And then we went, clunked him over the head, put him in.
So finally, spoilers extend to next week's episode as well, with the aforementioned source adding. It was also revealed that Rich Swann will beat AJ Francis in the No Holds Barred main event of next week's show. So interesting that, and this was like just an audio feed. So apparently they cut the video, but not the audio feed.
So it's basically, it's how we watched pay-per-view when we were kids, through the squiggly lines. Just here. Oh, somebody just won. What was that running? Royce Freeman is there.
You have to wait for Jim Ross to scream out the name,
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't work here. You know the answer to this. If you just want a clean ending, every week for the main event, you book Terry Funk, Stevie Richards, and the Sandman, or you book who was it, Goldberg and DDP, and then the feed goes out, and then you're just good to go. It just automatically, it's like microwave.
That was one thing interesting about Unreal season 2 is they showed Heyman was talking and describing a angle that he ran where he was trying to hide the information, and it was the whole Sandman getting his eyes burned by the cigarette when Tommy Dreamer smashed it into his face. And then he was talking about how that he never, that he had to sell it for like 4 weeks where the Sandman wouldn't leave his house. And and then when he finally showed up, obviously he pulled the bandages off and beat up Tommy Dreamer and everything. But, that's when Heyman, it was interesting that Heyman, he's like so anti what they do with an Unreal. And he even admits it when they were doing the interview segment. But he tells a story, he's comparing the Seth Rollins issue with his, bumping his knee on Saturday Night main event to what the Sandman did, like getting the cigarette bashed into his eyes.
That's on a apples to apples comparison. I remember I remember seeing some of that, and I remember seeing it on tapes, like with Donner from Ring Crew, because he had all the tapes. And I remember thinking, wow, man, maybe he is messed up. And again, you got to commit to going to Whole Foods with Becky and the baby on your crutches and everything else. And
well, apparently his daughter's what told his daughter's teacher that he wasn't really hurt, and he got kind of a little upset at her. He's like, but it never really. I mean, we always assumed it from the beginning that was, when we were watching it, it's like, oh, that's not real. He just landed, I mean, sometimes you land and yes, I see ankles turn and stuff, but he landed and he immediately rolled down like he had been shot, there's a guy up in the stands, And,
I hope it was like one of those things where it's like, why did you get that black eye? Oh, I fell down the stairs. It's like, why is your dad on crutches? It's like, oh, he's not. And then it's like, somebody's going to fall down the stairs. No, but
so yeah, that was, I thought that was an interesting part, but yeah, TNA is going through, and we love TNA. And listen, they had AJ Styles on the very first episode.
Yeah.
If you saw that, AJ looked like he was out there just long enough to do what he had to do because he was leaving, and he had to obviously cut a couple backstage. You didn't see him and Dixie Carter cross, and Dixie Carter was the reason he left, I'm guessing, or pretty much, whoever's in charge when he was asking for money, and they said no, and he went to, obviously went to New Japan and, made it okay for him to come to WWE. But
they're like, we need all of your money for Johnny Fairplay.
Oh boy. So yeah. So I mean, I'll be watching TNA. I'll still watch it every week, but it's like it's a rough start. It's they had a good crowd. I'll say this past week, it was a live crowd. It wasn't the empty place that for the debut show was. Where apparently they were handing out thousands of free tickets.
Yeah. I understand the value of like papering and whatnot, but at the same time, it's like 6 of one, a half dozen of another, and there's got to be some perceived value to it. And even if it's like, well, it's the debut, and they're the ones that should have been saying, no, the AMC, Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, yeah, they're on there now. Yeah. But the thing is, even if you got everybody in there and you got all those eyes on there and you got just the crappiest show you've had, a worse debut than you had on Pop Channel,
Yes.
What are you going to do? And I think, who was the biggest celebrity they had? That Chris Van Vliet, and they had a shot of him with like 4 other guys, and usually they'll at least focus in the front.
What about when they showed Eric Young and he was like sitting on a chair 4 rows back with nobody around?
he looked like Goofy with his head off, smoking a cigarette at Disney.
Seriously, you're right. He looked like he was his head was down, like he was smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, and it was like the Robbie McAllister shot. I'm not Robbie. Don't look at me. So
yeah, they the thing is they had some good shots later during the night of people in the crowd, but man, not when they were going through and meeting the famous people that we didn't know who they were. Apparently 2 people that were on an AMC show that I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can't get worse, I say. And I mean, I knock on wood on that because maybe it can. But, the thing is this guy who's running it now, Carlos Silva, has got to be on TV every week in his Tony Khan hat,
he's that and Bjorn Rebney and every other guy that was on way too much. And I don't know. He should be. There's a certain economy to that, and it's like this stuff where Tony's rolling down the stairs at a collision or whatever.
He learned that from Orange Cassidy.
Yeah,
rolling in the ring.
yeah, exactly.
Just keep
Exactly.
rolling.
But were we Trey Miguel? Was that?
Oh yeah, we might as well go and talk about Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel, who we saw a week ago on Dynamite, as they did a pot joke with the Rascals being in a smoky room.
Yeah.
The only time we're going to see him in AEW because he got his release and showed up on TNA this past week. And it's really weird because he was signed to AEW, and it's like I don't know that. I mean, there's a lot of people saying reasons why they released him immediately. A lot of it probably has to do with he used to date MJF's wife, who MJF just got married, and there may have been something that we don't know about that that.
The other thing I heard was he wanted to unload the apple cart and Twitter beefs, and has said stuff like,
yeah, I made some homosexual remarks about, if you can't find a girl, then maybe you should go for someone your own sex. And it was a terrible tweet from him.
And
it was also years ago too, he said, but nevertheless,
and it's like the Jay Briscoe camp of stuff. And it makes me wonder which it is, if it is the dating Alicia Toot or however you pronounce it, or if because there was another time, I guess he got in a fight with a Jewish wrestler and said some anti-Semitic stuff, but it's like, it makes me think more that it's an MJF move, because that Zachary Wentz kid shaved a Hitler mustache and heiled on Instagram.
And he got fired from WWE for that when they were part of NXT. Yeah.
So how are the big brains at WMD or whatever the hell they're called, how are they digging through all these tweets and they miss Zachary Wentz and he's fine, but Miguel isn't? It's 1 + 1's 2. I think it probably leans more to the familiarity of the wife thing, but like, wasn't there another thing when they all went to NXT and Miguel didn't go? Do you remember this?
Yeah, he stayed in TNA, and they pushed him as a singles wrestler, and I think he won the X division.
Something like he was raising my nephew, and like the whole thing with I'm going to take some time from wrestling, approximately 4 days. There's just
that's when he said when he got cut from AEW this week. He's like, I'm just going to take some time, and then he shows up in the Feast or Fired match on Thursday night, and he wins one of the briefcases. He took one of the briefcases, and just a side note. He did put out a tweet this week that he goes, because he didn't open the briefcase, so he doesn't know what it says. He goes, I certainly hope it's not, I'm fired again.
Yeah, that's it. They're like, thanks a lot. You just made it really easy on us. Some people just are snake bit and they don't know what they don't know. It sounds like he might be the problem, but like, that's the thing that kind of, if it was the Jay Briscoe treatment, like, oh, we found this old stuff, but then went like, which is more of a problem? Somebody having a fight and saying something in the heat of, and I'm not saying either of them are right. It's saying something like that in the heat of the moment, or taking a picture of you cosplaying Hitler and, actually getting fired and having it be a big thing that you got fired. It's just all very kind of mucky, and it I don't know. And the guy probably should have tried to unless he burned a bridge in WWE, he probably should have tried to get back in there, because like, any myriad of things that have happened over the years, look at Seth Rollins' old girlfriend, that whole deal with NXT.
Collecting Nazi memorabilia and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like not stupid sexy Flanders, it's like young sexy Marge Schott or something, look at my swastikas. But I don't know. And if you got a good look and you can work and he seems well liked, and a lot of people were like, oh, we're so glad to have him back, and they're hugging him and whatever else and giving him whole milk, but they just it's I don't know. Sometimes, like, again, you hear about that permanent record thing when you're a kid. It's just like when people get in arguments, they go, well, the Democrats are the party of slavery. And it's like 400 years ago. Yeah. And, what it's just some stuff follows you. And it's not fair. And other stuff you just kind of can't shake.
Yeah. And well, maybe his destiny is to be in TNA because he when did they all got signed to WWE, he stayed in TNA, and when they all got fired from WWE, they all came to TNA and they reformed the Rascals, and then 1 week into a new contract with the AEW, and he gets immediately released. And yeah, I'm guessing it might be something to do with that a toot lady as well,
Yeah.
because they were obviously they were a couple, and now MJF's married to her, and she probably has got dirt on him or something, or it's like you don't
Oh
want
yeah.
this guy on here, or
Well,
I'm
what happened when he got all ginned up about Britt Baker? He went bananas over that. So it's like, I guess there's just too much of that Kool-Aid of like, oh, the pillars of AEW, and he's the biggest pillar, and a pillar kind of looks like something else, and he could be the biggest. No, but anyways, where is this fourth Rascal? It's like they got Shemp from the Rascals now. There used to be the three of them, and now there was four of them. There's still three of them, but
yeah.
Trey Miguel makes four, and Man is five, and Devil is six, and God seven. Like,
What about
where
Curly
did the
Joe? Where's Curly Joe in the
yeah,
list? Chef
yeah,
Curly Joe.
exactly. Shouldn't Rob Van Dam come in and be revealed as being the Rascals' dad or something like
That
that?
they would love it. I mean, all they do is pot jokes. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
smoking rooms. And in fact, Jeff Hardy, wasn't he like the one who gave them? They were like, when they were in NXT, Jeff Hardy was like their hero. They
Oh
worshiped.
yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
because of the weed, So it's like,
Well, hey, these kids and their weed, but and their goofball and their psychedelics, but
yeah. So let's one more thing I want to talk before I hit the news. Tommaso Ciampa is gone. We may have mentioned it last week. But he is officially gone from WWE as of this week. He put out a nice long post where he has an email if you want to contact him about coming to either wrestle or do seminars, or he also is a personal trainer too. Obviously, you look at him, the guy's $1 million. Also,
yeah.
was the best thing in NXT like 6 or 7 years ago. That the best feud. I remember that whole year was him, and Johnny Wrestling. I thought, it was NXT. We've talked about this in the past, how it's degraded so much over the years about, how they really built up so many stars that are on WWE products now, but yeah, so I like Tommaso, and you could tell that they were, that he was serious because he put in a trademark for a bunch of different names that he wants to use on the independent circuit. So, but yeah, it's sad to see him go because he was a Triple H guy, man. He definitely was. Remember when R-Truth mistook him and Johnny for DX?
Oh yeah. Well, it's like sometimes Tommaso Ciampa looks like when what's his face was Little Papa Pump. He looks like he's cosplaying Hunter with the beard and the bald head and all that. But yeah, it's I hear one of the names he trademarked was Dr. Giggle Buns, but I heard that was for purposes of being a male dancer. But yeah, the guy, something that's very underplayed until you don't know, was the fact he had neck surgery. And guys come back and they change their style or they don't, but like Peyton Manning and Brie Bella both had the same neck surgery. Was it Nikki? Nikki had the
Nikki
neck surgery.
had the surgery. Yeah.
Same one as Peyton Manning, and that is hurt your neck. That's a game changer. It's just a very different world. So to have a 4-year run, 5-year run after that, kudos. But yeah, it's there's a time, and I think, doesn't he have like young kids or something?
He does. Yeah.
And then he's got to help old what's her face, Johnny's wife, with her kid, probably.
Candice LeRae.
Candice LeRae, the world's cutest tag team with since canceled Joey Ryan. But
no. Psycho Killers by the name he's been trying to trademark, the Psycho Killer, Psycho King. So that's what he's going to be going on. But he did put out an email address. He's accepting bookings, signings, photo ops, seminars, movies, television appearances, fitness collaborations, sponsorships, and so much more. And he was a guy that, back when he was in Ring of Honor, he was a dude who was just totally evil in that company. And he was, and that was his MO, man. He just came and messed people up. And, he had like a psycho, obviously Psycho Killer. That's why he wants that trademark. But and it was, it was the closest thing to me to like back when like the bad guys were believable, like King Kong Mosca, or would beat people up, including announcers,
Well, I just hope he doesn't come out in an oversized suit and start asking people if it's his beautiful wife, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's just the days go by, let the water hold him down. This
Yeah.
is
Once in a
off.
lifetime.
Yeah, let the water. This is the same as it ever was. Same
Yeah.
as it ever was. This is off topic, but not. And you probably talked about the Ric Flair cameo thing the other week, but Ring of Honor,
I watched a few of them, man. He is so hammered,
dude. And then he calls the guy barf. Yeah,
Well,
don't.
now
Don't
he's
get mad.
apologizing to people, which it only took him a month after the stories came out,
Well, but there's this whole other B plot going on right now where Kerry Silken is doing interviews, and he's talking about
Ric
when
Flair owes him money, right?
Do you remember when we were in Toronto at the Ted Irving Center or whatever that was, and there was a garbage strike?
Oh, it smelled terrible.
Yeah, and Flair was in the building, but he wasn't doing much. There's one, and I'm not trying to give other pods a plug, but who cares? There's a Cafe Renee thing with Kerry Silken, and this might be an A-B conversation between two. Go watch that because he talks about that show we were at where there was
Bret Hart there too. Was Bret Hart there?
I feel like he might have been because it was Canada and it was probably a lot easier just to bring him in. But I remember us being at the door and like you and me, like Kerry took us over and we like shook his hand, but like something happened in there. And then he talks about Flair stiffing him on the spot.
Yeah.
So,
he held him up for more money or something like that. He was like, yeah.
And specifically, I remember that was like, this is kind of weird because we were like, it was like the equivalent of being in a gym and Flair was right there, but he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
And, they were kind of keeping people away from him. It was, but yeah, back to Ciampa, that's, it's better to walk away than to be carried away. And especially with that neck injury, good for him.
Now you brought up that show. Remember that girl, what she yelled at us when she tried to cross in front of us as we
Oh my God, dude. She was going to kick your fender off your car. She was. I whistled at her. Do you remember that? That's why she got
and
so
then
upset.
she turned around and said "F you" and freaking
F you and came
coming at us.
Over. And it's like hit it, Rich. Brrr. It was like wacky races. We had to get the hell out of there, and it was by a Murphy's Law too. That's why because it's like there's a Murphy's. It's just like The Office. So I'll be at the office. But yeah, we were near that Murphy's Law up in Toronto, and F you. And she looked the part though, dude. She had on the fishnets and that little blue skirt.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Your car was gonna take on some damage because holy cow, she got hot over me whistling.
You like hit the gas.
Yeah,
it was like a yield. I was like, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, dude. Like she got hot, and not in a good way. Like you whistle at them and they get hot another way. It's a-okay. But holy cow, that was incredible. That was a fun. And then the time it was you, me, and Artiste, and his GPS like had Snoop Dogg's voice and was a piece of pizza.
And a piece of pizza was flying us there. Yeah.
And then we went. That was when it was Kenny Omega when he looked like Buddy Lembeck and Lance Storm.
And we saw what's his name from Ring of Honor, and he remembered us from when we saw him at Ted. The Ted Reeves Arena. Yeah, we saw Kerry Silken, and he's like, "Oh yeah, guys," and he was like, he asked us if we wanted anything. It's like, no, we're here to watch the matches. It's like.
He was very good to us. He was like Jenks level good to us.
He is. He always. I remember one time we were talking about one of the Ring of Honor pay-per-views, and he was at the Yankees game when we had him on in the morning. He's like, "Hey, I'm in line to get into Yankee Stadium," and it's like, okay, and he just did like a 20-minute interview live on the radio, and he's talking all about everything Ring of Honor. He's always been he's a great representative for Ring of Honor. He still shows up whenever he can for their shows too.
Oh yeah, he's a fun guy, and
he loves Jethro Tull. I know that. He loves Jethro Tull.
He's a nuanced kind of thinking guy. He's a cool dude, Kerry Silken. But do you remember? This is the best joke Artiste, and he's had a lot of good jokes, but do you remember there was that guy selling sausages and he had like a grill on a bike?
Yeah.
I'm the best. And then Artiste goes, in what category? Because this dude had like all these wet dripping sausages he was selling. It was like the movie Nothing But Trouble where Dan Aykroyd was that troll and he pulls the sausage out and he's eating this wet sauce.
And just to picture it for you guys out there, there's a line going into this place and it's like zigging and zagging through a parking lot. And this guy just pulls up on a bike with sausages cooking. you know, and a big umbrella on the top of it. So,
Yeah, I'm the best. That's all he kept saying. It's like, Tom Green, Daddy, would you like some sausage? And this place was like the Kodak Tech Park. It was set up
yeah,
really weird. It was in one little building that was a warehouse.
yeah.
And they had,
It was. I will say it was a cool building to have wrestling in. That's for sure. It was
yeah.
a high ceiling, and there's bleachers, and we saw that's Kevin Owens was there when we were there. He was wrestling,
Yep.
and as well as Eddie Edwards. A lot of those guys who were been in the company were there.
Omega was like the third man. He was not even close to being Omega the cleaner or anything like that. He looked like Buddy Lembeck. I remember.
Every time I've seen that guy wrestle, he puts on a 10-star match. I mean, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah, and that was one that he was an incredible match. So
And then Wellington, who died, he was there, and Lance Storm was there. It was a great show. I really, we had some great times and all the feds and everything else. But that was a part of that rule. If it was within 3 hours, we can get to Toronto as quick as we get to Binghamton for anybody out of town.
seriously, Binghamton has these great shows too with Excite, that company Excite down there. They end up bringing in. I mean, and that's if you go back to this is a huge recall WWE Unreal season 2. That's where R-Truth had his record album debut, where the John Cena's dad showed up to it, and it was like, and but he came out and did like a little concert, and I know some people who were there, and he did, and I didn't realize, you had to realize he wasn't fired from WWE if the WWE crew was with him when he's doing his record debut. This is before they re-signed him, or before they continued. Obviously he never was released, but before they re-signed his new contract. So
I remember that booking. I remember seeing that on social media, but then he had one of his WWE returns in Binghamton. So Binghamton must be a special town for old R-Truth.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I've always enjoyed. He's always been very funny, and it's even when he was in TNA and he was, the first TNA heavyweight champion, one of the first African American TNA heavyweight champion. And he, I remember he came on with us, and his kids were freaking being too loud, and he's like, "I'm watching my kids, and I'm gonna go into the bathroom." And he went in, and he was on. Yeah, I should find all those old interviews, man. There's some good stuff in there.
Oh yeah,
post them up as interviews. But so let me get to the news portion of the show, and this will take me probably another 20 minutes. So, interesting. If you were watching SmackDown last night, you got to see the MFTs beat the Wyatt Six for the WWE Tag Team Championships.
Yep.
And then they actually ran off with the lantern as well. So not only did they take their belts, but they got their lantern. I've heard rumors of Uncle Howdy disappearing and the Beast taking his place. So I just have a problem. I was posting in the chat last night. It's like, I'm sorry, the Wyatt Six, you're not recapturing that magic. I don't think that way Bray Wyatt did. I don't feel it at all. I mean, I'm happy for those guys to have jobs and what they're doing, but it's, unless they're selling a lot of merch, I don't understand why they're on TV as much as they are. And, I'm not feeling it. Well, what do you think?
I think they're a perfect case for the mutual best thing would be to go dark and then pop up on TNA. And then you could get all those guys an opportunity to get a rub against a big produced act. And I think that would be the best, and smaller buildings, and you could do more stuff. But it is just like ice cold. And you got these Samoan, it would be like if you had prime Mike Tyson, like boxing Bart Gunn. It's just, it is a cold act, and it could possibly, because people are always willing, just because of the Bray element and the Brody element, Rowan's in there. Like, it just needs to go dark for a while, and I would pop it up over there and let it be the biggest thing there, and just let those guys live out their contracts over there, because there's probably 2 or 3 candidates to get fired if that goes bad anymore in WWE.
And I don't think it's ever really been super hot, except for maybe the first or second time it was out there. Yes, they're redoing everything that obviously Bray Wyatt used to do with the lights going off and the fireflies and stuff like that. But I just don't think it has the, they show up. they're not. Bray Wyatt would take over a show. He would be involved in multiple segments. These guys show up and they won the titles, and then they show up and then they lost the titles, but they don't have a regular, not regularly on TV, I think, as much. So,
Well, and the problem is, it's like it's and you hear niche, and it's like when you hear empathy and people groan, it's like, but it's niche, and you go back to Lesnar going, I'm not wrestling Wyatt, I'm not wrestling Jinder Mahal, and the problem is, like, there's a lane. You're very much in a lane with something like that, and I'm not talking about the little kicks and the curly hair, that kind of a lane, but, like, it's just, you sort of stuck. And if you were a major B plot, it's something like what they want to call the chick twatter. Like, what was it, the Antifa group Vince whipped together with Minchin and
yeah.
maximum male models? It's something like that, where yeah, you can do the group beatdown and everything else, but at some point it's kind of a hard sell for a long term.
Yeah, and I mean, and they have the mystique is their introduction, because people come from every direction. Like, oh, the girl's been back behind, underneath the announcer desk the whole time.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And it's like, and I listen, I would love them to succeed and everything. I just don't. I don't. First of all, Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy, and Bo Dallas is not Bray Wyatt. And I feel like they're just trying to live off his legacy, and they are, obviously. They're trying to live off of what he originally came up with.
Well, and they got a long history of that, where you got somebody as talented, as much of a unicorn as Rey Mysterio going, Eddie. Like, when you're tied to a guy if you're like a nostalgia act for a nostalgia act, it's kind of tough, and your days are definitely numbered. Well, whether it's 3 years or it's 3 weeks, like, it's, and even, we remember very rose-colored glasses. Some of the stuff with Bray was a bit of a flopperoo, because
yeah.
And it wasn't for lack of trying, and it wasn't because he wasn't a great performer. You would just hit a point where, okay, and they kind of worked around that with the Mountain Dew Blacklight match and stuff like that, where it was still in this realm, but it was legitimized and washed.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's like, and so a lot of times people would say it's just because Vince McMahon was, he was getting in mixing things up and trying to change things up, and a lot of times some of his suggestions were like, he had a lot to do with I guess the Funhouse, Firefly Funhouse that used to be.
Oh yeah.
So, but they wanted. I think that Uncle Howdy's going to disappear, and we're going to see the Beast show up and be in charge. And then if they go like full out heel, yes, but right now I just think, yeah, it's a show about, it's a group that's based on a group from years ago, and I feel terrible, but I mean, I'm sure that if Bray Wyatt could contact us from wherever he is, heaven or hell or wherever he may be from, he probably would say, yes, please, trying to make money off of what I'm doing and let my brother, do well and stuff. But I just don't think it's getting over with the crowd. And it's like, and unfortunately, it's a big investment when you have 6 people in a group.
Oh yeah. Well, and Bo was out of wrestling. He was running some organic farm when he was dating Liv Morgan, and now
he's not dating her anymore. I thought he still was, because I thought she was living in his house or something.
She was, but I think maybe they broke up. She's somebody that grew on me over the years, because when I first saw her, she looked like a girl wearing her older sister's makeup, and she just comes, like, when she was at that Saudi Arabia thing, I'm like, holy cow, you were really, she had on that little suit and everything, and she looked terrific. But I don't know. It's one of those things too, where you hear, well, Raquel Rodriguez and Braun Snowman are together, and now they're not, and who knows? But yeah, they were at one point. But
it was for a long time too, because they were living together and everything, and then I guess a lot of Liv's friends were living with him too.
Yeah, Rusev's wife started a bunch of biscuits on fire in her kitchen one time or something like that.
That, and what's it, Daria, the new GM or whatever of TNA, was living there as well. So
they should have. They should have her come out like Beavis and Butthead's friend Daria, just in a green sweater. Diarrhea, cha cha cha.
You want to watch some wrestling tonight? The following matches are advertised for WWE's Saturday Night Main Event. It's going to be at 8:00 on Peacock. If you don't have Peacock, you can't watch it. So you're going to get AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez for the WWE Women's Tag Titles. You got Randy Orton versus Trick Williams versus Damian Priest versus Sami Zayn in a 4-way for the shot at the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. I'm going to bet Sami Zayn's winning that one. Okay. And Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. And it's like, it's funny that they interviewed Cody last night and he's like, they said, "You still thinking about Drew McIntyre beating you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm still mad about that, but I'm mad at this guy first, so it's like,
And he's like, and I'm also mad about you, and Paul Reiser will be in my corner tonight. But
on a bad Spectrum freaking download show,
yeah, good golly, Miss Molly, that was the worst reboot. No joke. This got emailed to me 10 minutes ago, so they're putting a push out through email blast for Saturday night's main event.
Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, so I like my phone keeps beeping because I don't have radio etiquette anymore. But yeah, they just sent that, and then there was a coupon for Domino's. It's like, Jacob's fat, but you can be fat too.
There you go.
Eat some
Fatu.
Domino's.
Oh my
Fatu,
goodness.
like
So if you're gonna watch Saturday night's AEW Collision, which will be on at the same exact time as Saturday night's main event, but this one will be on TV. You can watch if you have cable. This will be on obviously TNT. You get Claudio Castagnoli versus Roderick Strong for the CMLL Championship. I'm sure it's not going to change on TV in America. So Willow Nightingale versus Julia Hart for the TBS title. AEW Women's Champ Chris Statlander versus Isla Dawn in an eliminator match. I'm not sure what they're eliminating. Oh, is it for the Continental? I can't remember. Hangman Page versus Shibata. We got Andrade El Idolo versus Magnus. Now that's not Magnus from TNA, I'm guessing.
He's double dipping. He's getting paid by wearing a mask.
There we go. Big muscular guy who hasn't wrestled, I think, once since he joined WWE, but he makes a hell of a GM, I guess.
Yeah.
Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita versus Billy Gunn and Austin Gunn, little dad and son duo. And then Jake Doyle and Mark Davis will be in action. Jake Doyle, who is Jake something in TNA, who disappeared. But this was taped on Wednesday because they originally were supposed to do this in the esports or stadium in Arlington, but because there's this like terrible storm that's going to be shooting across the United States, they canceled it at the last minute, and they added second taping when they were doing Dynamite this week and put it after that. You can watch that on TNT and HBO Max at 8.
I just imagine this Jake Doyle thing. You remember when Ricky Steamboat and who was his brother, Youngblood or whatever, they were doing all those training vignettes?
Yeah.
I just imagine Jake Doyle and Mark Davis doing those, and then like one day he'll be like, I'm not Jake Doyle, I'm Jake somebody, and then he'll start running, and then you'll start hearing that I could be your man in motion underneath the Ferris wheel, whatever, St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah. Awesome recall there.
He'll be Jake something again. I'm Jake something. I'm not Jake.
Well, he's no longer Jake something. He apparently found his last name. So
I
don't know why he could never use it in TNA, but he wrestled locally here. He's been at ESW in Buffalo before. And I remember, and he's I've seen him do the indies around here. So
maybe it was like that old something.
Come up with a name. I don't know, something,
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, talent's name at Twitter, like the whole Chiron.
And it should be TBD, and that'd be the best name. It's TBD.
Thomas Bentford Doyle.
So if you're going to watch Raw on Monday, AJ Styles will be speaking. He's going to be in a match at the Royal Rumble against Gunther. It's a retirement match, and it could be the last time we see AJ Styles in WWE because his contract does run out in February, I heard, of this year, and he is not renewing his contract. So, but he couldn't do a retirement tour like John Cena because John Cena was already doing it. So AJ's going to speak. There's going to be an interview with Gunther. Braun Breaker returns from suspension. And then we got WWE World Tag Team Championship #1 contender match, the New Day versus Alpha Academy versus Los Americanos versus American Made. And that's all they've got so far for Raw this week. It will be 2.5 hours, it's usually about 2.5 hours. Usually ends about 10:30. Then we got, if you're going to watch Dynamite on Wednesday, we have FTR versus Jake Doyle and Mark Davis for the AEW. So they're getting a tag shot.
Wow, they're running up the charts.
There we go. Chris Statlander versus Thekla for the women's championship, and Mark Briscoe versus El Clone for the TNT title.
Whoa.
And yeah, so Davis and Doyle earned a title match by winning a four-way number one contender match on. Oh, was it? Am I spoiling?
Oh, somebody left the feed open again.
No, I'm not spoiling. It happened. It happened at. It happened. I don't know when it happened, but they wanted a four-way for number one contender. It'll be live from Cedar Park, Texas. So you want to catch that at 8 o'clock on Wednesday.
That was the culmination of the St. Elmo's Fire recap. They went up to Tony Khan and they go, "Listen, we need a number one contenders match to take on American Made." Oh no, I'm blending the shows together. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Do a little American.
Yeah, American Made.
All right.
If you want a party in the USA.
If you want to watch Impact Television, this was taped already, but this is going to be on Thursday. Rich Swann versus AJ Francis in a no hold barred match. I already mentioned that. The reveal of the Feast of Fire briefcases. Nick Nemeth versus BDE, and BDE is like an internet guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I see him and it's like, I don't know who this guy is. So I guess I'm not that tight on YouTube stars and stuff like that, but
it's just like KSI and all this other, and yeah, it's YouTube.
So we got also Elijah's taking on Jason Hotch and Elena Black in action. And Elena Black, I don't care. She's fine. So it was taped. It was taped in Albuquerque, New Mexico this past week. And we gave away a lot of stuff that's going to happen because of the audio feed they left on Impact Plus. So
this is going to sound like something I would make a joke about, but it kind of heartens me that Elena Black might really love wrestling because she was right up there with Mandy Rose on the special subscription sites, and for her to be back trying to make something going through TNA, and she had an interview where she talked about her relationship with Punk and AJ, and she had an ectopic pregnancy and stuff, so she got an interesting story. I pull for her. But and I'm not saying, well, it's so easy to, make a living on OF, but, if you were doing that good with, and they were saying she was neck and neck with Mandy Rose, who's the queen of that.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Rose is making millions every year. So, I mean, so interesting. Yeah. And Elena Black, remember, what was her other name?
Cora Jade.
When she was Cora Jade, she had, unfortunately, back-to-back injuries. She had an injury, was gone 9 months, came back, and like less than a month later, she was gone with like a blown out knee. So she had some back-to-back injuries, and that I think that's really the reason why they let her go, is because she couldn't be healthy for a long time. And maybe she was a dangerous wrestler. I don't know, but she also was dating Braun Breaker, and they broke up. And when they broke up, then she suddenly was out of a job. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but she's very attractive, I will say that.
Oh yeah, she's very
she also, I remember when she got the implants, because she obviously got implants at one point when she was in WWE. She was gone for like a month and a half, and all of a sudden she comes out, and it's kind of like when Stephanie Mann walked out with the big ones, and it's like, notice anything? And it's like, yes.
Well, no, that's why she was dating Braun Breaker. They were both double B's, but she went off to.
She's going to switch over to Rikishi next? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Sneak-ups at least.
Exactly. But no, it's and Meltzer was on, and he's, they're going to take anybody from WWE. It's like, no, there's two companies that will take anybody from, and I'm not dissing them, but like, what if that's the best, and that goes back to the Hobbs thing. It's like, did he left on good terms, and it's like, sometimes you hit a peak and other times you it's on your list to wrestle for the WWE. So yeah, it's a lot of value comes out of there, and you can't get everybody over. Wentz's wife, that Priscilla Gigi Dolan, she was another one that got hurt too much, but man, if there's not a better looking girl than her, and sometimes you got to go and make your way the Metropolis way, and then
I don't think Tony Khan holds that against anybody. I know I was going to bring this up. This is in my news as well, is that Will Hobbs, he lost the trios titles on last week's Collision. That was his last appearance. Kind of almost gave it away on the show last week because I did talk about him signing a contract with WWE, but he's a guy who, I mean, I don't think Tony Khan blames anybody who says I want, the number one company in the world is WWE.
Yeah.
There's no there's no arguing on that. And if someone wants to go and take a chance there, and then I think you lose out on the less travel. Well, I mean, nowadays they don't really do a lot of house shows, so really everything's coming up to par on like the travel issues people have had with WWE in the past. But
Oh yeah.
they're more worldwide traveling. They definitely go out of the country multiple times every year, so you got to be able to go out of the country and stuff like that. But Will Powerhouse Hobbs did sign a contract with them, and his new name is going to be Royce Keys. And WWE had put in a bunch of trademarks on that name the last week. So when he shows up, who knows? But he definitely is a guy who, when he first started in AEW and when he left AEW, he was like, his body had changed shape. He was a little bit heavier, and now he's like probably 0% body fat, all muscles. And it's like, unfortunately, sometimes being that built and that defined, it doesn't help your wrestling career. But he obviously powerhouse. He's not like he's going to be doing Hurricane Ranas and stuff. It's like
No, and it can be rough because the thing people don't realize is, oh, you're in great shape and you got all that muscle, it just holds you together. But Shaq made a point. He said 330 pounds of fat and 330 pounds of muscle wears your joints just the same.
Yeah. You can't strengthen your tendons and all the things that connect your muscle to your bones and stuff. You can't strengthen that. So that's why that's the whole story that I believe that they compared when Bulldog, or I mean, what's his name from the British Bulldogs?
The Dynamite.
Dynamite Kid. Yeah. No, not Dynamite.
Davy Boy.
Davy Boy had strengthened his muscles to the point where his tendons could not keep the muscles on the bone anymore.
Right.
And so that's why he was having all these health problems at the end of his career, is because he was tearing tendons. He was, and so so that was, that's one thing, is the human body has limits, not muscular size, but, other things your body will. And so, yeah, but Hobbs looks like $1 million, and I mean, I'm sure he'll do great when he gets to WWE, and hopefully
I'm a little bit afraid he's going to be a security guard or a janitor with a big thing of keys, and they'll be like, Royce Keys, and he'll like fumble through for like a skeleton key and be like, here you go, sir. Here you go, Triple H. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, well, I don't. At least, I mean, you know what? They don't get paid to work out the whole time, or, So
him and Ricky Saints were together. You remember that was the whole where Edge got had at Ricky Saints for making the joke, and
yeah.
Hobbs was with him then. I don't know. There might be a.
I wouldn't be surprised if he like comes in as like maybe a bodyguard for Ricky Saints.
Yeah, Ricky.
They can roundabout way assume they had a relationship at some point. Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. That would be a great idea, I think, because I like Ricky Saints. He reminds me of JC Money here in town. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
I think he does, because he's a good speaker on the mic, and he definitely. So I like that they made him champ too, when he's something he never got when he was in AEW, and
yeah.
I think that's what unfortunately WWE uses NXT to, like, what? If you're looking for championships, we've got NXT here. Come on, we're not going to give you anything on Raw or SmackDown, but we'll give you the NXT title.
That's it.
You graduate up from it, like Obafemi is. He doesn't care. He won the match. He had a title match, and then he put the belt down and walked out of the ring and said, "I'm done here." And he was, and now they're building him up for a big debut on Raw sometime soon. Maybe it'll happen at the Royal Rumble. I don't know.
Oh, that might be
Jericho. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that might be the way. That might be the way, because not so much with Femi, but Hobbs. You do see. Well, I was gonna say Marcus Corvin, but I guess he left to like watch his sister's kids who died or whatever. But he was kind of languishing in ECW. I don't. Hopefully, you just hope everybody reaches their fullest potential.
I agree. So Bryan Danielson, recent absence from AEW Dynamite, hasn't been accidental. A new report sheds light on what really is going on behind the scenes. He's been kept off TV recently because he's having ongoing neck issues that get worsened and have worsened in recent weeks. He because of the travel, not because of any physical activity, but travel has been getting him. But with that said, Taz showed up this past week, and Taz is back. So you know, I mean, I like Brian Danielson. He also works in creative there, but he probably doesn't need to travel to every show if he's doing working in creative versus, you know, versus being an announcer. So, but I liked what he did. I've always been a Brian Danielson fan. I always thought, you know, I mean, he's the guy who, like, you know, proved to WWE that organically you can get over without all their input, you know.
Well, and he had a great line. I think it was Hechicero was having a match, and somebody, Tony Schiavone, or maybe Excalibur's like, "Oh, have you wrestled anybody like Hechicero?" And he's like, "I've wrestled Hechicero."
Yeah, I think it was Callis, Don Callis, who might have said it to him.
That was a great line. It's like, and he brings that, but of course, Taz, Taz obviously hadn't wrestled Hechicero, but you need that ex-wrestler in there. And I'm not taking a dump on Excalibur. I know he wrestled, but you need that high level guy who, Taz was in there with Kurt Angle throwing him around his first match, and Danielson's pedigree is unquestioned. So yeah, it's tough because I saw him talking. He was doing a good round of media at one point. It might have been somebody in Australia. I don't know if it was like Legacy Media or a podcast. He was talking about the strains of, even lugging around a wheelie bag just wears on your neck.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me at all. So we're gonna get up here. I know we're going long, folks. There's some McMahon news. This would be Marissa McMahon, the wife of she's enjoying a huge award season moment. She had one this past week with the film Train Dreams, which she produced. She picked up 4 Academy Award nominations. That's for the 98th Academy Awards, which are going to be, they were announced on the 22nd. So that'd been 2 days ago. And, but she's got a nod for Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Original Song, and Best Picture category. The film stars Joel Edgerton and Felicity Jones as centers of Edgerton's characters. But she was involved in being a producer and everything. So good luck for Marissa McMahon. I remember she did some announcing at one time in WWE. I think she was like a backstage announcer or something.
I think that's how they met, because she was Marissa something Italian, like Mariotti or something. Yeah. And yeah, that might have been how they met, her and Shane. Yeah, no, she was cute and she was good, and she didn't do it for more than a year. I don't think. She was kind of in and out, but I guess she graduated into the McMahon family, and she doesn't have to go talk about whole milk with a W. But the Smashing Machine got passed on, just like the Go. Have you seen the Smashing Machine yet?
I have not, though. I've seen the original documentary.
Yeah,
is it a lot like that? Because
it's pretty true. Yeah, no, not to cut you off. It's pretty true to form. It's pretty right, like the high levels of drugs, and then he's high.
They show where he opens up the drawer, and they're all the empty steroid containers and needles in it.
Yeah, no, that's tough to watch, and because he's just such a nice, like, soft-spoken guy, and he just was bad hooked on hypodermic, like, drugs, whatever the proper term for that is. But yeah, it got passed on again, and I guess they were trying to make a big push, but then it didn't do much at the Golden Globes either, and that's usually the precursor for that.
Yeah, I know he was up for Best Actor in the Golden Globes, and he did not win, though. But he, I mean, it's interesting is that it's a real story, obviously, and the dude's still alive. So
he pops up at the end, like they play it, and it wasn't like the whole. I think it's something that kind of worked out. They get to the end and do the Where Are They Now? Because, where it ended in 2000 is 25 years later. And then Mark Kerr's at the grocery store, living a healthy life. He's doing yoga. He lost all the mass.
Oh, good. Because he's a guy who actually beat Kurt Angle amateur wrestling, right?
Kurt did a good interview with Chris Van Vliet where he went into that. They all have their foil, like Brock Lesnar's with Stephen Neal, who went and played guard for the Patriots for a decade and didn't have a bunch of football experience. Yeah, they all have their foil, so to speak. And Kerr and Angle, big respect to Kerr. And Kerr said, I trained to exhaustion, and there was just this extra level with Kerr. It's really knowing what you know about either of them and hearing them talk about each other. You can tell it's like, oh, these two guys were Ford and Ferrari or whatever,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and then and Kerr really didn't get into the steroid stuff. I don't think till past his collegiate years.
No,
And,
you look at him, he's pretty lean. Like he's got a build a lot of the Iranian wrestlers have, where it's just kind of straight up and down, but you got muscles where you need them. And then right now, you looked at him in 2007 and Year of the Lord, but he was bubbly muscles on top of muscles, like
yeah,
something off SpongeBob when they do the cutaway. But
something in Vince McMahon's wet dreams.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So well, I'm looking forward to actually seeing it. So I've got a couple more pieces of news. By the way, if you ever were wondering, actually, this past week, Netflix came out with the totals for WWE pay-per-views or quote unquote live special. What is it?
No, I think that's the one I was talking about earlier. They got the Rumble at 3.1 and Night 2
Yeah.
of Mania at
So
2.9.
this is like just an idea of what. Yeah, you're right. This is so Survivor Series War Games drew 1.8 million. Crown Jewel Perth drew 1.4 million. WrestlePalooza drew 1.9 million. There's a lot of hype around that. Probably a lot of disappointed people too. Um,
Well, they probably got a lot of Perry Farrell fans that thought it was Lollapalooza, and they just showed up wearing sheets like it was Burning Man or something.
well, we had Clash in Paris, 1.3 million. SummerSlam 2025 Sunday, 1.7. On Saturday, 1.5. And Evolution, 900K. And that's a shame because that was the all women's pay-per-view.
If Lemmy was alive, he would have just brought the theme song back. Evolution.
So those are some numbers. We don't usually see them, but they were doing like a end of the year recap on things, and there you go. Some other news. It looks like Steve Austin may be coming back to WWE for WrestleMania season. They're negotiating with him right now. He's game for it, but and it's not a one-off appearance. It looks like he's going to be doing a few. So nothing's just set in stone yet, but obviously Stone Cold gets talked to every year. I think it's because they're worried about they're losing people, and now they're especially losing the old fans. And then the way you do that, to get around that, is by bringing back an old name, and and Steve Austin. So he's a young man still, but he's a name that was the top of the world 25 years ago. So
Well, that was like it's typical TKO too, because when they took over, it was Ronda coming off that loss, and then they were just talking about her just icing Nunes, and it's like, sorry, Kimo Sabe, you don't know what you don't know, and it went the other way. So that's very much, yeah, just we'll do a comeback, but with Austin, it'll be a lot more successful than Ronda's because you can manage it. It's not
he hasn't done anything since he wrestled Kevin Owens at WrestleMania a couple of years ago. So 40. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's definitely game for it, but it's like he doesn't do a podcast anymore. I don't think either that, or I'm just not seeing anything about it anymore.
He does not. It still charts apparently because he had everybody on.
Yeah,
but
all the old shows. I love listening to it. That's when I first got into podcasts, listening to him, and he had everybody, and he didn't care. He went across company lines all the time. So
he had the juice to get Jericho when he was in AEW. Remember that for the WrestleMania week he interviewed him.
Yeah, I remember
as current AEW, and of course that was Tony being amenable, and it was before anybody stepped on anybody's toes, and there was kind of cool about it. But yeah,
and he was always talking to TNA people before WWE ever had a relationship with TNA, because Steve's a wrestling fan. He still watches this stuff, so he's also doing bit parts in movies, so that probably keeps him busy too. So
well, he's like into like pet cats and stuff too. And did you ever hear the story? Friend of the show, Brian Cameron Deaf, was talking about shellacking his driveway or something, and Austin liked the picture because he's apparently following people sealing their driveways on Instagram. He's like, you did a great job, son of a bitch. Goddamn.
I had his beer. You could buy it here, and I posted a picture of it at Wegmans. I think it was at Wegmans, and he liked it. So he definitely looks. I mean, he follows the Pain Clinic website or our Facebook page, so there is an open avenue to talk with him. I've never pushed it though. I've never said, oh, I mean, I could DM if I wanted,
Might be the time. Just take a cute picture with a cat, or tell him tag him in an RIP Beers of the World tag.
Yeah, right. Well, there's still, yeah. Apparently, there's other beers of the world, but the one Hogan was at close. So, yeah,
Yeah, well, grand opening, grand closing.
yeah. Well, that one's been there since the Wegmans closed or whatever. It used to
Oh
be a
yeah, that's
Wegmans.
that's
Yeah.
been there for. That was there in the '90s. I remember them advertising on the Wii show on CMF. Like it's been there forever.
By the way, have you had a chance to see Weeze's podcast at all?
Yeah, it's really sharp. I like the way it looks, and he's got the right guy running it because Jake's got a lot of technical know-how.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm the one I'm waiting for is obviously the next show because he talks about his last day at iHeart, and it's like he talked. Apparently, people were like, getting in when they were in commercial breaks, were coming in and accusing him of stuff, or at least hinting towards that. It doesn't surprise me. They had an offer for him, and they thought he was going to take it, and he changed his mind on the radio.
Well, and I think that's like, oh, that's very kind of McMahony. It's of course he's going to take it, and
He's
it's like
leaving. He's not going to get a last show. That's what they do up there. That's what the company does. It's like,
and they think they got you, and I told him when he went off, he was like Paul from The Longest Yard, like he just kept throwing the ball when they wanted him to throw incompletion. So, no, that'll be fun to listen to. And the thing that gets me is they were like finally like, oh, you can finally have that lefty talk show on Wham and fight with MAGA, which we wanted to do 25 years ago or 20 years ago. But I was like, oh man, like they're low down, dirty scoundrels.
no, and there wasn't any full-time position involved in any of those solutions to him. So,
well, what's a weekend show on Wham? 2 hours tops. It's just
there was no. So I'm guessing that he would take a huge pay cut, and I mean, right now he's kind of going off on it. He's going off on his own. I actually suggested to him, I think I told you this already, that he should go to CMF and say, hey, I'm rights free right now, man. If you want to give me one day a week to come in and hang out with Tommy and them, because I think he deserves the respect, and he certainly gets it from those guys. That's where he started,
Oh, well, and that's the thing. And, I told he's just so important to this community and so important to the people in it. And he's one of the last ties I got to my dad. We would I'd go see my dad in Bath, and we would drive to Dansville where we could start picking. Dansville mentioned twice in the same hour. Who'd have thunk it? Was that on your bingo card? But
there you go.
we would drive to this little Buckhorn truck stop that you've seen if you've ever gone down to Pennsylvania or anything, right there in Dansville. And we would get Swiss cakes and the root beers that looked like beers, and we'd listen to the show. And then it ended, we'd turn around. So, it's like, it's right up there with the headline. The sun rose today that Clear Channel messed up something good,
All right.
Or whatever they're called these days. I fart radio, but no.
I don't know. I don't know. It's changed. They've also moved their studios around and had to, shorten up their space. They're constantly in shrinking. So I don't really follow them at all. And which, I don't know, sour grapes could be, I don't know. It could be, but it's like it was, I'm glad that I have an opportunity not to work there anymore. So that was, where I am now is, now I needed to still, even when I work where I am now, I needed to still do weekends there so that I could, make a little bit more money. And now, after a few raises, I don't need that anymore. So, I still kind of like doing radio. I mean, I miss that, I like, that's why we do this. Cause it's like, this was the fun stuff we used to do on radio,
Well,
there's no fun on radio anymore, unless you like, I don't know, Bob's okay, but it's like,
well, that's the pictures I've seen. They look like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. They're having fun, and that's the most important thing about that type of deal. But no, I remember, like, and it's kind of like, the last person getting on the Titanic. My first day was, or my third day was like the first day when Bain Capital cut half of everybody. So yeah, it's a bummer, but it's like you can't keep a good man down. And no, that's
it's funny.
Well, just I was just going to say he's going to be fine, win, lose, or draw, and he would be doing his show at Publix Market, just talking to somebody in the fruit section,
Sure. He does his show when he's living his life. So
yeah.
So I was going to say I saw that Adam Cholak from Channel 8 has
Yeah.
an interview up from with Gary Smith and Joe
Jolo.
LaMotta. And it's like, I would tell you that it would be very hard for me to tell anybody that they should pick radio as a career. I would stay away because, because there's no, even if you're a superstar, you're still not getting an opportunity,
It's just the medium is like there's no there, and that's the unfortunate thing. I remember I used to have kids call me when I had a posted number in promotions, and they go, "Can I get in there? Doing promotions, and I'll build my way up because that's what you hear. Oh, get your foot in the door." And I would tell them, I go, "You're gonna be board apping like the Amrics, and it's not gonna lead to you saying anything on air."
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I said, I don't have an answer for you, but I'm not going to encourage you to come up here and be a board op.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially
Well, that's the thing too, is the way the business has been that there's so many out of work radio people that anytime there is a new position, instead of grabbing someone from college, and the only reason they'd grab anybody coming out of college is because they don't have to give them benefits. They don't have to pay them very good, and they can take advantage of that. It's just your step foot in the door and see how long and then that's the real test, is how long can the person with a foot in the door last until they realize that this is just a scam to keep me working for very little money and no benefits,
The meme of having your foot in the door is that poor Capitol officer getting crushed. That's kind of how it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're in the door, but you're also like not doing a lot, and you might have somebody with 14 chins going, whoop, 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 you're a cute girl. Whoop, 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 whoop. So.
Oh yeah. So let's move on to some other news because we really jumped off there for a second. I want to get done in under 2 hours.
Bobby Duncombe, the Weeze Family Circus.
Yeah, listen, check that out. Definitely check that out. So Bobby Duncombe Sr. passed away this past week. He was a rugged cowboy from Austin, Texas, and he wrestled Dusty Rhodes and the Funk Brothers. And when he came to WWE, it was basically him against. He was managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, and he was part of the Heenan family. And he took on Bruno Sammartino and Bob Backlund, but he was a tough son of a gun, and he did pass away this past week. So we send our best out to family, friends, and fans, of course, of Bobby Duncombe Sr. I believe his son also wrestled, right? Was it Bobby
Duncombe, West Texas Rednecks?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that didn't last long for them either, as well. So
missed endorsement opportunity with Dunkaroos. They
there you go. Yeah. So I already mentioned Javon Edwards got hurt this past Monday. They had to basically throw the X sign up and lead him out. They thought he might have got concussed, but it looks like he's okay because he was back on the bus with everybody going to the next stop. So, but it did happen in the middle of Monday Night Raw, so it's always kind of scary. And once again, now it's hard to trust anytime you see the X go up because people fake it, like Seth Rollins and stuff like that. But one last thing, and then we'll get out of here. So if you're going to watch SmackDown on USA, it's moving to Sci-Fi for two weeks, February 13th and 20th. And you know why? At the same time, 8:00. And why? Because we have the Winter Olympics, and the Winter Olympics are coming. Yeah, they are coming. So
I was going to say the Westminster Kennel Dog Show.
Yeah, that would be if it was on USA, though.
Oh, right.
Oh, it is on USA. Wait a second. Hey, no. What was it that? What was it? But they don't do I guess the dog show is now done on like ESPN2 or something.
Yeah, I remember as a kid that nothing had more heat with me than that Westminster Kennel Dog Show.
What's this?
Yeah. And then you'd see some, all you were hoping for is one would take a crap or something. It's like
they do, but you got to watch long enough. But they do eventually. So,
oh god.
On that note, we're gonna get out of here because it's just about 2 hours in, and it's fun, Murph. Thank you so much for giving me time.
Oh, it's always a great time, and we got to just sort of hunker down and ride the storm out like Jim Morrison did before us, not John Morrison, not Johnny TV.
Others on the storm. All right. On that note, body slam someone you love. We'll be back next week, same bat time, same bed.